Okay, let's unpack this. When you really think about an ideal society, what comes to mind? Is it perfect happiness, no crime?
Yeah, perfect harmony, maybe. It's a fascinating thought.
Exactly. And this whole concept of utopia, it's not just some modern fantasy, right? It's really foundational. It's shaped how we think for like millennia.
Absolutely.
So today we're diving into arguably the original blueprint for that kind of state, a text that's just profoundly shaped philosophy, political thought, everything.
We are talking, of course, about Plato's Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And what's amazing is it's not just some dusty old text. It feels like a living dialogue still.
Right, still relevant.
Totally. It sparks these debates about what a perfect society would even look like. And
Mm,
maybe more importantly, the really uncomfortable trade-offs it might demand.
that's a key point. The
Yeah.
trade-offs.
Yeah. Because so many modern ideas about perfect societies, even the ones we think are progressive, you can trace them back somehow to Plato, either agreeing or, reacting against
You
him.
can't really escape its influence.
Not really, no.
So our mission today for this deep dive is we're looking at excerpts from the history of Western philosophy, Plato's Utopia.
Okay.
And we want to pull out the most important nuggets, kind of give you a shortcut to understanding Plato's really radical, sometimes pretty controversial vision.
Yeah, controversial is definitely a word for some of it.
We'll explore the core ideas, the surprising details. Some are genuinely surprising, and the big questions it still raises about, how should we live together?
And it helps, I think, to know the structure going in. The Republic is, well, it's broadly in three parts.
Okay.
The first part, which is where we'll really focus, is the construction of this ideal commonwealth. That's the bit considered the earliest, most detailed utopia.
Right, the blueprint itself.
Exactly.
Yep.
Later parts get into critiquing actual states
Mhm.
and defining the philosopher, which leads to the philosopher-king idea.
Which we'll touch on, but the focus is that initial construction.
Right. Because it all starts with Plato trying to define justice.
Yeah.
Then he does this fascinating thing where he scales it up.
From the person to the state.
Precisely. He figures it's easier to see justice writ large, in the whole society.
Mm.
Understanding that jump in scale from the individual soul to the entire state structure is absolutely crucial. It's kind of the key to his whole argument in the book.
So whether you're maybe prepping for a meeting or just catching up on Philosophy 101,
Or just really curious.
or just intensely curious, yeah, you should walk away from this with a much clearer picture of Plato's incredibly influential and, let's be honest, sometimes pretty unsettling ideas.
Unsettling is fair.
Okay, so let's dive in. This is where it starts to get really interesting. Plato's stated reason, his nominal purpose for writing the Republic, to define justice.
Seems straightforward enough.
Right, sounds like, I don't know, a philosophy assignment. But he almost immediately hits the snag. He realizes understanding justice in just one person, in the small scale,
It's harder.
it's much harder. It's subtle. It's harder to see than seeing it magnify, like, across the structure of an entire state.
He uses that analogy, right? Like reading tiny writing versus a giant poster.
Exactly. Like trying to read tiny letters on a ring versus seeing the same message painted huge on a canvas. So his thought is, okay, if it's easier to see in the large, let's build the best imaginable state first.
Build the ideal city in theory?
Yes. And then step back and see what justice looks like within that perfect structure, how it works.
It's quite an approach, isn't it? To define an individual virtue by designing a whole society first.
It's audacious, really.
And it immediately raises that big question. How do you scale up something as abstract, as personal as justice? From one soul to a whole society?
Yeah, how?
Well, Plato's move, his philosophical audacity maybe, was this thought experiment, building this perfect state in theory.
Brick by philosophical brick.
Exactly. He believed that the ideal state, perfectly structured, would act like a mirror.
Reflecting individual virtue.
Precisely. Look at the perfect state, see how its parts work together harmoniously, and then you'll understand what justice means for the individual soul, how it should order its own parts.
So the state becomes the model for the person.
That's the core of his method here. He's observing justice as a living attribute of this perfectly designed commonwealth he's imagining.
Okay, so let's get into the broad strokes of this utopia. Because the most recognizable feature, the absolute foundation, is this division of citizens into three distinct classes.
Right, the three tiers. And it's not just administrative.
No, it feels very deliberate, very philosophical. So first, at the bottom, the biggest group. Common people.
Producers.
Yeah, farmers, artisans, laborers. Their job is basically economic production. Feeding everyone, clothing everyone, making the stuff the city needs, the engine,
Like
basically.
material foundation.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Then next level up, the soldiers.
The auxiliaries, sometimes called.
Right. Their job is protection, defend the state from outside threats, but also maintain internal order. Keep the peace. They're the shield and the muscle.
Strength and security. Got it.
And then at the very top, the smallest group, holding all the political power, the guardians.
Rulers. The decision makers.
Yeah, exactly. Significantly fewer of them than the other two classes. And their role is governance, leadership, and, well, philosophy.
This tripartite structure is absolutely core to the whole thing.
Definitely.
And it's really crucial, like you said, that this isn't just about jobs. For Plato, it reflects intrinsic qualities, different temperaments almost. He even talks about metals in the soul, which we'll get to.
Right, gold, silver, brass.
Yeah, and what's radical is, even though power is only with the guardians, the other classes are essential, absolutely fundamental.
It's an interdependent system.
Completely. The common people provide the needs, the soldiers provide the security. It's not just a power hierarchy. It's how justice itself is manifested, with each class doing its specific job perfectly for the good of the whole.
It's all about function and harmony.
Exactly. A very intricate system.
Okay, let's zoom in on that top tier then.
Yep.
The guardians, the mind of the state, so to speak. Books 6 and 7 of the Republic are pretty much dedicated to defining the philosopher.
Right. Which leads directly to his most famous and maybe most radical political idea, the philosopher king.
The idea that philosophers should rule.
Yeah. Plato was convinced that the best, the most just state would be ruled by these incredibly wise individuals. Because they love wisdom, they pursue truth, they understand what's really real.
As opposed to just, like, popular opinion.
Exactly. He was very critical of relying on mere opinion, which he saw swaying politics in, less ideal states like Athens.
So what makes a philosopher qualified to rule, in Plato's view? It's not just being smart, is it?
No, it's much deeper than that. A true philosopher, for Plato, isn't just an intellectual. They are deeply committed to unchanging truth, guided purely by reason, and focused laser-like on the good of the entire state.
Not personal gain or power for its own sake.
Absolutely not. They aren't swayed by desires or wealth or what's popular. They have wisdom understanding the forms, the good, and moral integrity. That makes them uniquely able to see what's best for everyone and have the will to do it, even if it's hard or unpopular.
That really challenges our usual ideas about leaders, doesn't it? Suggesting wisdom is the most important quality.
It completely reframes leadership. It's about wisdom first. Being a king or ruler is secondary to being a philosopher. It's a total redefinition of what it means to lead.
So if these philosopher kings are so vital, how do you become one? Is it just you're born into it?
Well, our sources say it's primarily hereditary. Children of guardians are kind of expected to follow suit.
Ah, okay. So there's an element of birthright.
There is, but, and this is really crucial, it's not a totally rigid caste system. There are exceptions.
Like what?
Well, a child born to guardians could be moved down, degraded to a lower class if they just don't have the right stuff. If they lack the gold, the intellectual and moral fiber.
So you can fail out, even if you're born at the top.
Yes. And conversely, and this is maybe even more surprising, a promising child from the lower classes, a worker's kid, a soldier's kid, could be promoted up into the guardian class.
If they show the aptitude.
Exactly. If their natural abilities, their training, their virtue proves they're worthy. So while it has hereditary elements, there's also this mechanism for social mobility based on merit.
To keep the ruling class, ideally, composed of the best possible people.
Precisely. And that raises a huge question for any society, really. How do you balance natural talent, maybe inherited traits, with the need to engineer society for the best leadership?
Yeah, that's a tough balance.
Plato's system tries to ensure the most capable people rule, regardless of birth, because the whole state depends on it. The goal is always the good of the state, making sure the guardians are upholding the legislator's intent.
Which is always assumed to be good.
In this ideal model, yes. So there's this constant evaluation, this lifelong education and testing to find out who really has the gold for ruling, the silver for fighting, or the brass and iron for working.
It's a blend of nature and nurture, really, engineered for perfect leadership.
A fascinating and maybe slightly unnerving blend.
Let's talk about that education system then, because it's absolutely central to shaping these citizens, especially the guardians.
Foundational, really.
And it's built on these two pillars, music and gymnastics. But music means way more than just songs.
Oh, much more. It's basically the entire cultural and intellectual education. Poetry, stories, myths, history, drama, rhetoric, everything connected to the muses, essentially.
So shaping the soul, the character, the mind.
Exactly, molding the inner person. And then gymnastics is, well, pretty much what it sounds like. Physical training, fitness, bodily discipline.
Athletics, conditioning.
Right. And the key is how Plato saw them working together, shaping both soul and body.
A holistic approach.
Totally. Music cultivates the character, emotions, intellect. Gymnastics develops physical discipline, health, courage. The goal is to produce these incredibly well-rounded individuals. Balanced, strong in mind and body, self-controlled, dedicated to the state.
Creating the ideal citizen from the ground up.
Precisely. Not just smart, but physically tough and morally upright, too.
Okay, but here's where it gets, well, let's just say very prescriptive. And maybe quite controversial for us today.
Uh-huh. The censorship part.
Yes. His utopia demands rigid censorship. Over everything. Literature, music, stories told to kids, and it starts super early.
It's not a suggestion, it's a requirement.
Absolutely. The goal seems to be total control over the cultural input shaping these young minds.
And the why is crucial. It's not just about, keeping things appropriate. It's about ideological immersion. Total immersion.
What do you mean?
Plato knew stories don't just entertain, they build our reality, our sense of right and wrong. By controlling every narrative, every song from infancy, he aimed to engineer a collective consciousness.
Leaving no room for, wrong ideas.
Exactly. No room for dissent, doubt, or even accidental exposure to what he saw as harmful thoughts. It's about ensuring absolute ideological conformity.
Wow. So give us some examples. Literature.
Okay, so mothers and nurses, strictly forbidden from telling kids unauthorized stories, especially tales where the gods behave badly.
Like the standard Greek myths.
Many of them, yes. Homer and Hesiod foundational texts, basically their scripture, are explicitly banned.
Banned? Why?
Because they show gods laughing uncontrollably, weeping, fighting, deceiving people, having affairs. Plato saw this as impious and corrupting.
So gods have to be perfect role models.
Only good. Gods can only be portrayed as authors of good things, always truthful. Anything else contaminates the ideal. The cultural landscape has to be, pure.
So no Zeus and his escapades then. That's a massive rewrite of their own culture.
It's a total refoundation. He argues gods must be portrayed as perfect. Stories of flaws corrupt the young by presenting bad examples, implying vice is okay even for gods. The state needs an unimpeachable moral framework, starting with the first stories kids hear.
Okay, what about drama? Plays?
Same principle. Poets are watched closely. They can only portray good characters embodying virtue.
So no villains? Or complex characters?
Essentially, no imitation of evil. No laments, no loud laughter, especially not that inextinguishable laughter of the gods Homer described. The goal is to make kids unwilling to even imitate a bad person. Everything reinforces one single virtuous standard.
And this extends even to music itself, like the actual tunes?
Absolutely. Even harmonies are censored. Certain musical modes are banned.
Why? What's wrong with the melody?
Plato believed different modes had distinct psychological effects. So the Lydian and Ionian modes, forbidden. They were associated with softness, relaxation, sorrow, maybe even weakness or indulgence.
So what was allowed?
Only the Dorian mode for courage and temperance, and the Phrygian mode for temperance and religious feeling. The music citizens here must only promote courage, simplicity, harmony, discipline, never weakness or excessive emotion.
It's like designing a perfect sonic environment.
That's a good way to put it, a total sonic environment reinforcing state values.
So the overall goal of all this censorship, art, stories, music, is to eliminate anything ugly, anything morally harmful or corrupting.
Yes, and to ensure kids are exposed only to good things, carefully curated to instill virtue, discipline, and unquestioning loyalty. It's total immersion from birth.
Creating perfectly homogeneous, virtuous citizens. Wow.
Now, moving to the physical side. The training of the body is just as regulated. Not brutally austere, but definitely not indulgent.
Okay. What about diet?
Very specific rules, our sources say. No fish, meat only roasted, absolute no sauces or sweets, confectionery is out.
Seriously, roasted meat only. Sounds great.
It's a simple, basic, unvaried diet designed purely for health, strength, resilience. No luxury, no excess at all.
No feasts for the guardians, then. It really is an austere life for the rulers. Almost Spartan, you might say.
A very apt comparison. And this simple diet, the tough training, it's not just about physical health.
Yeah.
It connects directly to moral fortitude, self-control.
Also,
Plato saw a clear link between physical indulgence and moral weakness, a luxurious body, a soft soul. By preventing illnesses caused by bad diet and luxury, the kind of problems in other societies, the state saves resources, sure. But more importantly, it ensures a robust, disciplined population.
Less prone to vice and temptation.
Exactly. It cultivates temperance, resilience, mastery over appetites. That inner discipline extends to everything.
But the training doesn't stop there, does it? For potential guardians, it gets more intense.
Much more intense. As they get older, they're deliberately exposed to ugly things, to vice.
Exposed to them. Why?
And they're subjected to what Plato calls enchantments and terrors. Difficult situations, temptations, things designed to test their will, their character.
That sounds like more than just physical tests. It sounds psychological.
It's a psychological crucible, absolutely. And it raises that question. How far should a state go to test its future leaders?
What's the goal of these tests? Not to break them, surely.
No, the goal isn't to corrupt them. It's to build unshakable resilience, to prove their commitment to the state's ideals, even under extreme pressure. They have to show they won't modify, their core principles won't bend, they won't terrify, they won't break under fear or temptation.
Only the ones who pass, completely untainted, become guardians.
Only those whose gold proves pure and unyielding. It's a process designed to find absolute moral and philosophical steadfastness.
This whole intense system leads us to another really radical part. The daily life of the guardians and soldiers.
Ah, yes, the thoroughgoing communism.
Right. They live together communally. Simple houses, shared food, common messes, and the big one, no private property.
None whatsoever. No, my house, my land, my money.
Why? What's the reasoning behind stripping the rulers of property?
It's fascinating and central to his idea of justice. Gold and silver, strictly forbidden for guardians and soldiers. Plato believed the city's purpose is the good of the whole, not the happiness or wealth of one class, especially the rulers.
So removing temptation.
Exactly. They must be free from the corrupting influence of wealth. Their focus has to be solely on serving the state, without distractions like personal gain or managing property. They have no private property beyond what is absolutely necessary.
Just the bare essentials.
Just the basics. This communal living, this economic abstinence, it's designed to prevent corruption, stop infighting over resources, and ensure their total dedication to the common good, make them incorruptible.
Okay, if that was radical, this next part is maybe the most startling of all.
The family structure, or lack thereof.
Right. Complete abolition of the traditional family for the guardian class. No marriage, no nuclear families as we know them.
That feels profoundly alienating, almost inhuman to us now. How did Plato justify getting rid of something so fundamental?
It's a huge cost. What was the payoff in his mind?
The justification is rooted, again, in the ultimate good of the state. The state takes complete, rigorous control over reproduction, based on what Plato called eugenic principles.
Eugenics, like selective breeding.
Essentially, yes. Improving the population through controlled breeding, like a farmer breeds livestock for the best traits.
Wow.
The legislator arranges the marriages, the sanctioned pairings, not for love or choice, but purely to produce the best possible progeny. The state decides who mates with whom, based only on what creates the most capable, virtuous children for the community.
So, individual desire, attraction, love, completely irrelevant.
Utterly subservient to the collective genetic and moral good, as Plato saw it.
And what happens to the children born from these pairings?
They're taken from their biological parents immediately at birth, raised communally in state nurseries.
So parents don't know their kids, and kids don't know their parents.
Critically, yes. That's the design. It sounds jarring, I know, given how we value personal belongings, but the aim was to eliminate personal attachments, private loyalties, nepotism, anything that could undermine total devotion to the whole community.
So every guardian child sees every guardian adult as a parent figure.
And every adult sees every child as their own. The love and loyalty get diffused across the entire group, forging this powerful, unified bond to the state itself.
Are there specific rules about who can even have children for the state?
Oh, yes. Very strict. Men only between 25 and 54. Women only between 20 and 40.
That's specific.
Yes. And any sexual activity outside these sanctioned pairings, or for personal reasons, strictly forbidden, suppressed.
What happens to children born outside the rules? Or children deemed unsuitable?
They're considered illegitimate and this may be the most chilling part, deformed children, or children of inferior parents,
Uh-huh.
those not fit for the guardian class, are also illegitimate and are to be exposed.
Exposed, you mean left to die?
That's the implication of the term in a historical context, yes.
Huh.
While brutal, it wasn't unheard of then, but here Plato integrates it systematically into the state's plan. Population control, ensuring only the fittest contribute to the guardian class's future. It's absolute state control over life itself.
So what this really means for identity, it's the deliberate destruction of father, mother, son, daughter as personal bonds within that class.
Severing those deep connections to prevent private loyalties that might compete with loyalty to the state.
It's a total redefinition of family, engineered for collective good and unwavering loyalty.
A profound and deeply challenging redefinition.
Now shifting gears slightly, but related to state control. Truth. In Plato's Utopia, truth isn't absolute, is it?
Not for the government, no. It's presented as a tool. Lying is seen as a prerogative of the government.
A necessary medicine.
That's the metaphor used, yes.
Yeah.
Administered by the physicians of the state, the rulers for the good of the populace.
That feels incredibly uncomfortable. A government that has the right to lie to its people.
It challenges our core values of transparency, definitely. And it introduces one of Plato's most debated concepts, the royal lie, or noble lie.
What is that exactly?
It's not just a small fib. It's a big foundational myth taught to all citizens from childhood, believed as absolute truth.
Why? What's the purpose of such a big lie?
To ensure social cohesion, justify the class structure, and foster loyalty. And what's really radical, maybe unsettling, is how Plato, through Socrates, openly acknowledges the need for these fictions. Stories that aren't literally true, but are useful for maintaining order and convincing people of their place.
It sounds very pragmatic, but ethically tricky.
Very. It places state stability and utility above literal truth.
So what's the most famous example of this noble lie?
That would be the myth of the metals.
Ah, yes. Gold, silver, brass, iron.
Exactly. The lie is that God mixed these metals into people's souls at creation. Gold for guardians, silver for soldiers, brass and iron for the common people.
And everyone's supposed to believe this.
Yes, and the myth cleverly adds that while children usually have the same metal as their parents, exceptions happen. A gold parent might have a silver child, or a brass parent might have a gold child.
Which ties back to the education system finding the right aptitude.
Precisely. Education helps discover your true, innate metal, ensuring you find your rightful, divinely ordained place. It makes people accept the hierarchy as natural, as destiny.
So the lie isn't meant to be malicious, but to create shared identity and acceptance of one's role for the good of the whole.
That's the justification, a powerful tool for social engineering aimed at perfect harmony and stability.
Okay, so we've covered the classes, the censorship, the communal life, the family structure, the noble lie. Let's bring it back. What is Plato's final definition of justice in this ideal city?
After building this whole elaborate structure, he concludes justice is achieved when every person and everything has his or its appointed place and appointed function.
When everyone is doing his own work and not being a busybody.
Exactly, not meddling in the functions of the other classes.
And this isn't just about efficiency, right?
No, it's profoundly about harmony, internal balance.
Right.
Justice is when the three classes work together like a well-ordered soul.
Reason guardians, guiding spirit, soldiers, both controlling appetites, common people.
Perfect analogy. When each part does its job properly, without overreaching, the city achieves balance, coherence, virtue. That is justice for the state.
Now, what's amazing is how these ideas, however abstract or extreme, seem to echo in real history.
Definitely. Our sources draw parallels.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a thought experiment locked away.
Where have we seen similar structures or ideas pop up?
Well, think about the Jesuits in old Paraguay. The kind of ecclesiastic rule, where religious authority dictated the whole social and political order for indigenous groups.
Like the guardian's moral authority.
Somewhat analogous, yes.
Yeah.
Or the States of the Church lasting until 1870, where religious leaders held direct political power.
Okay. Any more modern parallels drawn?
More controversially, perhaps, some elements, the centralized control, the emphasis on collective over individual, the state-directed society, have been compared to the Communist Party in the USSR.
An elite vanguard guiding society.
With individual desires subservient to the collective and a powerful ideology shaping life. Obviously huge differences, but certain structural similarities in state control are noted.
And comparisons to ancient Greece itself.
Oh, absolutely. You can see echoes of Plato's discipline and communalism in Sparta's rigid society.
Though maybe less philosophical focus than Sparta.
Arguably, yes. And it's a stark contrast to Athens, with its democracy and individualism, which Plato was quite critical of.
Right, he thought it was too chaotic, ruled by opinion.
Exactly. And it's crucial to note, while some have wrongly described the Republic as being like a wealthy aristocracy, Plato explicitly rejected wealth and prestige for his guardians. They were ascetics, not traditional aristocrats.
Their power came from wisdom and function, not money or birth alone.
Precisely. It was about virtue and the collective good.
This historical context is really useful, but it brings up a huge question. Did Plato actually intend this as a practical blueprint? Like, did he think someone should actually build this city?
Or was it more of a philosophical exercise?
Yeah, thought experiment pushed to its limits.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And scholars debate it endlessly. Many argue strongly it's more a city in speech, a theoretical construct for exploring philosophy.
Not a literal instruction manual for politicians.
Probably not. More a tool to understand justice, the ideal soul, by creating this extreme model state. A way to explore complex ethical questions through this vivid, maybe impossible lens.
Pushing the boundaries of thought.
Exactly. Exploring what perfect justice would look like, even if it's unattainable or even undesirable in reality.
And there's that inherent tension, isn't there, between this perfect, rational ideal and the messy, imperfect, real world.
Huge tension. The perfectly designed state versus, well, human nature, our desires, our need for connection, freedom.
Plato's ideal often clashes with what we think of as ordinary human needs and wants.
Right. Our sources mention other ideals, like Nietzsche's hero or the Christian saint, different visions of perfection. Plato was aiming for this absolute social order, which almost by definition requires suppressing or reshaping basic human drives.
Which forces us to confront how we define good and bad in society.
Exactly. Which brings us back to Thrasymachus in the Republic, who argues justice is just the interest of the stronger. Plato spends the whole book trying to refute that cynical view, building his Utopia as the counterargument.
Showing that justice is something real and achievable, at least in theory.
In his ideal theory, yes.
So after all this, what does it mean for you listening today? Why should we care about this ancient, radical text?
Well, understanding Plato helps us see the roots of so many ideas still around today. Social engineering, communal living, the power of education and media.
It makes us confront those tough questions about freedom versus control, individual rights versus the greater good.
What are the limits of political authority? Plato forces these questions on us. His Utopia is like a mirror, reflecting our own hopes for perfection and our fears about control.
And his fundamental questions are still relevant, aren't they?
Absolutely. Even if his answers seem extreme now, the dilemmas are timeless. How do we achieve social harmony? What's the right balance between the individual and the state? What kind of education creates good citizens? And who decides?
How do our own societies try to balance liberty, equality, order without going to Plato's extremes?
That's the ongoing debate, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Plato set the stage thousands of years ago, and we're still grappling with these issues every day.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the key elements we unpacked. Plato's Utopia, the three classes, each with its function.
The rigid education and pervasive censorship shaping mind and body.
Communal living, no private property for the guardians.
Abolition of the traditional family, state-controlled eugenic reproduction.
And the noble lie to ensure social cohesion, all in service of this specific definition of justice as harmony and order.
And what's truly remarkable is how deeply these ideas, love them or hate them, have permeated Western thought.
They laid the groundwork for so much philosophy and political debate that followed.
Whether people agreed or violently disagreed, his influence is undeniable, a testament to the power of the ideas.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with. This is where it gets really interesting for today. If we were trying to design a perfect society now, knowing everything we know since Plato history, psychology, ethics, what would be the single hardest part of his utopia to even consider implementing?
Ooh, good question.
Would it be the total censorship, the abolition of the family, or putting philosopher kings in absolute charge?
That leads to the ultimate question, really. Plato designed this for perfect justice, perfect harmony.
But at what cost?
Exactly. What cost to individual liberty, to autonomy, to human nature as we experience it? Does chasing perfection always require these kinds of brutal sacrifices?
So as you think about Plato's ideal world, what stands out to you as maybe the most chilling trade-off? What would you be willing or unwilling to sacrifice for that perfectly just state?
Something to definitely ponder.